I don't recognize the fact that any Jewish structure in Yehuda and Shomron is illegal. That's God-given territory to us. We can build wherever we want. Stay away from it. If you want to do something constructive, go after the Mechabalim, go after the terrorists in Jenin and Tulkarm and Kalkilia. That's what your job should be, not terrorizing good, honest Jewish patriots who are settling our God-given land. Now, I know there was something terrible that happened. There were a whole bunch of people who threw rocks and bottles and everything else at our security forces that were tearing a settlement down, a yishuv down. And I would just want to take this opportunity to tell my brothers and sisters, don't do this. Do not raise your hand against your fellow Jews. Do not do this. I know it's hard because I've witnessed it, to have your own army and security services and police forces tear down a community that you built with your bare hands. But we must not turn our hands against our fellow Jews, against our fellow citizens. We can't do this. There are other ways of doing this. So I implore you, I feel for you. You know where I stand on this issue of Yehuda and Shomron. This is our territory. We should be able to build anywhere we want. But right now, we are not in an independent, sovereign Jewish state. We are still in Galut. We are still in the exile here in Israel.
As
until
before,
that's finished, we have to remember where we are. Do not play into the hands of the Erev Rav, who will show everybody a poor soldier who's got his head cracked and say, this is who's living there. Don't do that. The time is coming where a true Jewish government will be voted into office, please God, soon, and we will build everywhere where God has told us to build. But until then, please do not raise your hands against your fellow Jews. It's not right. It won't help things, and you will only be adding fuel to the enemy's fire. That's all. But cats, I wanted to just end on this, cats can stop this with a snap of his fingers. He can direct the Central Command to keep Israeli army elements and security elements and police elements out of the business of tearing down Jewish communities, and to go after the terrorists who deserve to have their houses and their villages and their cities torn down around their heads. He can do that, but he has to get Bibi's permission first. And that's the problem. People have to wake up to the fact that Bibi is not a Jewish nationalist. He's Herod. He takes his orders from the new empire in Washington, the new Rome.
Which brings us to the question: what are we to make of the finance minister Bezalel Smotrich's recent statements about the upcoming year, 2025, he was referring to as being the year of sovereignty, Jewish sovereignty, Israeli sovereignty in Yudan Shomron?
I have a terrible message to send to certain people like Bezalel and others. And here's the message. Donald J. Trump is not Moshiach. I'll let that sink in. The fact of the matter is, Trump is no friend of Israel at all. Yes, he recognized sovereignty on the Golan, our sovereignty on the Golan Heights. Yes, he acknowledged the fact that Jerusalem is the undivided capital of the state of Israel. But with Trump, his actions are always transactional. What he gives, you pay for. And what we were expected to pay for was a Palestinian state. People refuse to remember, if they actually knew about it at all, that part of the deal of the century was the creation of a Palestinian state, or a Fakistinian state, God forbid. Chas v'shalom.
You're referring to the announcement
Abraham,
made at that time by Trump nearly 5 years ago now.
correct. And if you look at the map that he proposed and was put up by his son-in-law, and not initially opposed by Bibi, you look at the area of our biblical heartland, Yehuda and Shamron. It's a killing field for Jews. It's a shooting gallery. No Jew could live there. Gaza was part of that state. The Chalutza Sands area that has a reservoir, a fossil freshwater reservoir, at least as big as the Kinneret, was going to be handed over to them, to the Gazans, whoever ruled them, whether it was Hamas or the PA. And there was to be an extraterritorial railroad and road linking Gaza with Yehuda. Great. That would have been great on October 7th. So this man understands money. That's it. And his allies, his true allies in this region, are the Arab petrostates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. Those are the people that he aligns with. Greenblatt, an evil little man that I have absolutely zero respect for. I call him a step and fetch Jew. Made a statement yesterday trying to dispel everybody's euphoria over this belief that Trump would allow Jewish sovereignty to manifest itself in Yehuda and Shamron. And he said, no, you guys have got it all wrong. A lot of things have to happen before he would even consider that with regard to a Palestinian state and other things. Okay. So Greenblatt was at least telling the truth in this regard. The fact of the matter is, and this is the central point that we have to get in our heads, we shouldn't have to ask anybody to establish or reestablish sovereignty over God-given land. The key to that is for us finally to take Iran off the map. Now, this past week in the Financial Times, there was an unbelievable article that I sent out to everybody describing just how vulnerable and decrepit the Iranian electrical grid and their fuel supplies are. This is, and when I sent that out, I prefaced the article by saying, this is why I've been advocating the detonation of an electromagnetic pulse weapon over central Iran. Why? Because such a weapon would basically wipe Iran off the map. It doesn't kill anybody directly except people on life support. But anything electronic is dead. Dead. And at that point, the Azeri part of the population rises up, as they've wanted to do, and to become part of greater Azerbaijan. The Arabs of Arabistan, or as the Iranians call it, Khuzestan, in the oil-producing center in the southwest, rise up, as they've been trying to do for many years, throw off the Persian yoke, as they call it. The Baluchis in the east do the same thing. And what's left? A rump Persian state around Tehran, basically. Is this, what would happen at that point? Well, the Azeris, about 20 million of them, are fine. They're under the protection of the Azerbaijani government. The Arabs are okay, Iranians, because they're under the protection of the Arab Petro Gulf states. The Baluchis, well, sorry for them. They'll probably be slaughtered by the Pakistanis, but that's not our problem. And as far as the Chinese are concerned, well, you know, they'll pour money in to get the Iranian oil and gas fields up and running again, except this time they'll be under the control of the Arab petrostates. And if that oil and gas is taken off the market, the Arab Persian Gulf petrostates have the surplus energy resources to make good the loss of Iranian oil and gas, except the Chinese would have to pay market prices for them. Sorry, I'm not going to cry over that. But what happens at the end of the day? Saudi Arabia and the UAE in particular owe us. We've just taken the knife, the Iranian knife, the Shiite knife at their throats away. They're free and clear. Their future is assured. That's when we tell them, this is what we're going to demand for our unilateral declaration of sovereignty over our God-given territory. And you're going to shut up and deal with it. You don't worry about the Palestinians anyway, because the Americans have been pushing this down your throat. And at that point, that Fakistinian nationalism dissipates. It just doesn't exist anymore. But the key to that, if these people really want, these people like Simcha Rotman, I apologize, people like Bezalel Smotrich and others want to live in this fantasy land, then give some substance to it by acknowledging that the only way we can actually have sovereignty in the land is by our own actions under the aegis of God, Hashem. And the way we do that is by taking Iran off the map, getting the Saudis and the UAE in particular to basically acknowledge their appreciation of what we've done by abandoning these Fakistinians that they basically have no respect for anyway. But the last thing in the world we should be doing is waiting for the Purits, the Tsar, like we're ghetto Jews again, living in the Pale in the Western Russia, waiting for the Purits to grant us some benefit, in this case, sovereignty. Why should we ask anybody for permission to declare sovereignty over land that was given to us exclusively by a Kodesh Baruch Hu? Have we no faith? Well, in the case of Bibi, no. He has no faith. He's an atheist. But for the people like Bezalel Smotrich, I mean, what is his problem? So, as far as Trump is concerned, this is Esav. And America is Edom, the final exile. And we have to throw off this yoke. And the best way of doing it is striking out with God's help and eliminating the greatest threat to our people since Nazi Germany, Iran. And we can do it. We can do it tonight. We can do it tomorrow morning. It's literally the push of a button. The push of a button. And it's over. We don't have to bomb Tehran. We don't have to bomb Isfahan. We don't have to bomb anything. Just one detonation. And that's it. High up in the atmosphere. And then you can say, we declare sovereignty over Yehuda and Shamar. And what is anybody going to do? Nothing. They're going to be scared to death of us. And Trump, what is he going to say? Wow. Okay. You can have it. Why? Because the Saudis and the Emiratis are good with it. Okay. That's it. Done.
And because you have proved that you are independent, powerful, strong, and resolute.
And God-fearing.
Because you rely on Hashem.